Welcome to the Tech Academy Week 2. This session is for October 3rd, 2023. So, in today's session, we're going to talk about software developers. What are the roles and responsibilities of a software developer and a product manager? Um, and then how the collaboration and communication works between them. So, who is a software developer? A software developer are professionals who create a software application that runs on various devices, such as a computer, smartphone, tablet, and more. Software developers are responsible for entire software development process from planning, designing to coding and testing. As we go through several weeks of Tech Academy, we will discuss about what are the planning stage, uh, in this session, we're going to talk about some programming languages and about the testing. Testing is done by software developer. However, an intense level of testing is done by the QA person. So, what are the responsibilities of a software developer? A software developer is mainly responsible for writing and maintaining a code. They use several different programming languages to write up a code, such as Java, C Sharp, Python, and there are many more out there. It could be a front-end developer and a back-end developer. We would discuss about several different types of developer in the next section. Um, um, Developers is also responsible for making sure the code that they wrote is working, so debugging and testing the software. They use several different tools to do that. One of the common tools is integrated development environment, IDE. One of the popular ones that we use is Visual Studio, but there are many out there that any developer can use and start working on it. The other important thing the developers do is collaborate with the team members, because any software that you're creating requires multiple people to working together. So communication and collaboration is one of the key aspects. The next big thing is creating a technical documentation. This is very important, and I have seen some of the companies who fail doing the technical documentation have very difficulties as they grow and as they are trying to scale their application. So I would highly recommend that investing some time and making sure that your software development team is working and creating the technical documentation and making sure they are up to date. The technical documentation includes how the system is architected, and the reason it is very important to have a technical documentation. Let's say your software developer lead may leave and then they go and find another job. It's okay. They're going to do the career progress, and we want our team members to make a good career change. Along with that, we also want to make sure when we don't have a dependency on any single person. So we want a good technical documentation as we grow. So, what are the important technical skills and expertise of a software developer? So, a software developer should have a good knowledge of programming language, as I mentioned, Java, Python, C Sharp. They should also have a good understanding of several different paradigms that they are. It's object-oriented programming, functional, procedure, and more. How to apply them appropriately, because I always believe that writing a code is an art, because if you had not written a code in a very good manner, you will spend lots and lot of time maintaining the application on and not creating more value to the user. You are just trying to fix things on your side. A software developer should also have a good knowledge of software development methodologies and tools. The methodologies could be Agile, Waterfall, Scrum, and more. We're going to talk about that in our upcoming sessions. But what are the other tools that the developers use? They use code editor, as we discussed, debugging tools, testing frameworks, version control system is very important one, as you can track down who made what change and why it was made, project management softwares, and more. Knowledge of software engineering principles is one of the other key important thing that, yeah, a software developer should know about, because there are several different concepts like abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and and much more. But to make sure that a developer implements that, they need to have a good understanding of these concepts. The reason they need to have a good understanding of these concepts are it will help you to create a good software that is reliable, the code is reused, we don't want to write up the custom code each time we are doing things. The maintenance of the application is much easier, and you can easily scale up and make sure that the product that you develop is secure and very user friendly. So, what are the types of developers that we are talking about? Initially, I mentioned about the front end developer. A front end developer is responsible for making sure that the thing that you view on the browser, on the desktop application, on a mobile phone is working fine, is looking good. They are also responsible for user experience. However, there could be a separate position in your organization that does the UI and UX stuff, but the front-end developer always deals with the technologies such as, it's a HTML, CSS, Angular, React. There's a Vue, and there are several different programming language that they interact with. So the front-end developer is more concentrated toward what the user sees and how they interact with the application. A back-end developer is someone who writes a business logic. If someone says, I want to purchase a phone, what's the quantity of the phone? If they are going to do a full payment, or if they're going to do installments over the period of 6 months, or maybe over the period of 3 years. So those are some of the business logics that a backend developer would implement. And there are several different programming languages. Here are some that I have mentioned. It could be C Sharp, PHP, Python, Swift, Node.js, or Go. So a front-end developer deals with what the user sees. A backend developer makes sure the business logic, is implemented correctly, the application is working fine. A full stack developer has experience in front end and back end. So when you are making your team, you can think about what kind of team structure do you want to have. Do you have a two backend developer and a front end developer, or you wish to have just a full stack developer? There are benefits and drawbacks between choosing and managing your team. Let's say if you're having a full stack developers, great. The development cycles could be much easier. The person who is writing the backend code is also responsible for front end code. However, there are some limitations where full stack developers might not have as much knowledge of a front end development stuff, because there is a lot of technologies that they have to keep up with. So that's one of the challenge that we face in the industry. But if you have a subject matter expert as a front end developer, then they can always work on it. The problem that comes with having a front end and back end developer is you need to make sure that they know what logic is behind, what functions to call to make sure that they get the right data that they're needing from the server. So collaboration is and communication is a key factor between a front end and a back end developer. Now let's talk about the software itself. Like, so how does the software work? Software has a user. User could be using a browser, Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Edge, anything. And then there is a front end, where is a web server. Browser would make a request. A user would open a browser and make a request to the web server. Web server will say, okay, here is what user is requesting. Let me make sure I get it from the application server. Application server has a business logic also implemented, and then it requests the data from the database server. So here is a very good example of an web application architect. It is from Evertop. So as you can see, we have a user on top that is requesting the data. So we collect data from them and display the data to them. Then there's a front-end developer which has the programming languages just such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, where we make a very interactive website for the user. But then the front end needs to show the data, and they need to get the data. So what the front end does, it will go to the web server, our application server, and say, hey, I need the data for the last month of sales that we did. So the web server will say, okay, I got you. I'm gonna ask the database, collect all that information, and then I'll send it to the front end. Front end will say, okay, here is the data that I need to show to the user in a specific format. So that's how a web application works. Now let's talk about then who is a product manager? Why do you even need a product manager? So a product manager is a professional who are responsible for the success of the product. They define the product vision, strategy, prioritize the feature, create a roadmap, and act as a bridge between the stakeholder and development team. One of the things that we see often is there is a communication gap or an understanding of the what the management team needs and what development team understands. So product manager makes sure that um, both of their expectations and communications are met and they understand things. So a product manager will sit with the stakeholders and say, okay, here are the list of things that you need. Now, a product manager would sit with the developer and try to talk in the technical terms to say, okay, here are 10 things that the management or the stakeholder team needs and how we can implement it. Or if all the 10 things that they said is feasible enough to do right at this moment. So the product manager is very much responsible for driving the product vision and strategy, prioritizing features and creating roadmaps. So a vision of a product could be okay. You wanted to create an AI chatbot, but the first iteration will have certain things. It would be a beta mode. You are trying to do a proof of concept if the chatbot that you're trying to create is going to work or not. So a product manager will say, okay, version zero point 0.1 is going to have X, Y, and Z. Then we would do version 1, version 2, version 3, and go along. So that's what product vision and strategy means, prioritizing features and creating a roadmap. As I said, along going again to the first thing that I said, a product manager would say, okay, here are the things that we need to do, and here is how much time it's gonna need to create certain features. So on that note, the product manager can create a roadmap saying, okay, January, February, March, the team is going to work on this. By the end of January, we'll get this deliverables that will have certain features that we talked about. And then once a product manager creates a roadmap, he makes sure that he or she makes sure that we send that information to to the stakeholders, to the management team, saying, "Hey, okay, here is a great idea that you had, but with the resources that you gave me, we're gonna make that happen over the period of 2 years. Now, if you need it to get it faster, I need more resources." So that's where a product manager acts as a bridge between the stakeholders and the development team, and then making a justification why it would take so much time to create a product or enhance or add new features. So That's a very important key skill that a product manager has. And then measuring and improving the product performance is getting the feedback from the user, is getting the feedback from your customer on where are the friction points, where what are the things that we can automate, we can make it better for our users, is the key responsibility of a product manager. So, what are some of the skills that a product manager should have? A product manager should have a product sense, communication skills, technical skills, business skills, research, analytical, and strategic thinking. What do you mean by product sense? Product sense is where, okay, if there is an actual problem, are we trying to solve or not? One of the good saying that is in our company is we get a lot of good idea fairy, and whenever you have a good idea fairy, it creates more problem for your software development team, for your support team and things like that. So a product manager works as a gatekeeper, saying, okay, is this a real problem or not? Is it something that we are trying to resolve? Is it something that will make the life of the user easier? Will it save some time to our user? Will it give some value to our user? Communication skill is very key because product manager make sure that they are working with several different teams. They would collaborate, make sure there is not a miscommunication between the management team and the product and the development team. So that is very important. Technical skills, very very important skill. One of the things that I personally have experienced is developers will respect a product manager if he or she can demonstrate technical skills, such as taking an example of myself. I'll write up the prototype. I'll write a code, and we'll have a prototype and say, okay, this is how it should work. When a developers come to me and says, this cannot be done, or it will take me a week to develop it, and I'll say, nope, I can do it in a day, or I can do it in 2 days. Why are you saying you will need a week to develop it? And there might be some misunderstanding, or the expectation might not be set up straight. So that's where having a good technical skills always helps. Business skills, and another important thing where a product manager should understand the cost benefit of this thing. If you're going to put, let's say, $100,000 in creating a feature that only returns you $10,000, then it's not a good investment. You need to have a business skills to make sure that the things that you are developing provides more value to your user, along with it provides more value to your business itself. Research and analytical skills, again, that's where you are researching, talking to your user, making sure things are working fine. Strategic thinking, again, coming up with the strategies where if you have a problem on hand, how are you going to handle it and not freaking out in the scenario. I recently had a product launch, and we had some of the unexpected behaviors that the users reported, and everyone was panicking, and I had to set up a straight, okay, let's get the list of things ready. We're going to talk every day, and we're going to say what are the things that are resolved. We're going to make sure the support team is aware about it, PM team is aware about it, our users are aware about it, and then we give updates every single day to our users saying X, Y, and Z. Problems fixed. We are working on the other things. It will take another 2 days for us to resolve. And then things got quiet down in a week or two. But that's a strategic thinking. You need to implement strategies on fly sometime. So, what's the importance between importance of collaboration between development and product management? So, effective communication and collaboration between developers and product managers are essential for the success of the product. Some of the benefits of effective communication and collaboration are ensuring the alignment and clarity between the development team and the product manager and the stakeholders as there. Having a good communication uh, always gives you a better quality of the product, and you can ship things much faster. And then a, as a product manager, you need to make sure that you create an environment where the creativity and innovation flourishes. Because if you are going to dictate everything, and the development team is going to need to do exactly what you said, then there won't be any creativity and innovation that comes out of your team. So you need to take a step back and allow them to express their creativity and innovation. One of the key things that I do with my team is when we are trying to resolve a problem, maybe it could be a front end or a back end issue, I try to discuss the problem with the team and say, okay, come up with a solution. I might have a solution that I have thought about, but I want them to come up with a solution. So they feel that they are a part of the solution itself. So it again helps out with creating that bond and an ownership of the product from the dev side of things. And common challenges to overcome. Communication and collaboration between dev and product manager are not always easy and smooth. There are always times when there is a difference between the priorities that a product manager will have against the developer will have. Developer will put more emphasis on security, reliability of the product. Um, Maybe resolving technical depth of a product, but the product manager might emphasize more on the deliverables, the new projects that we have. So it is very, very important that your product manager understands the technical things that your developer is saying. Along with that, making sure that your product manager is not very authoritative, and then they give a chance to understand the things that the dev team is also saying. So there needs to be a good trust relationship between both the team members to make sure that the things are going to be delivered on time and in much better fashion. So that's everything on the product manager and software developer. Please let me know if you have any questions. Add a comment or reach out to me over an email, and we'll be happy to discuss more things like this.